I was making cookies in the kitchen when my 6-year-old granddaughter came running in with that angel face that always made me smile. She tugged at my skirt and said something that completely destroyed me. Grandma, did you know that Grandpa kisses Aunt Elizabeth when you leave? 62 years old, 41 years of marriage, and there I was, receiving this news from the innocent mouth of a child. I didn't know what to say in that moment. I just kept making the cookies, as if nothing had happened, because that's what I knew how to do best. Keep going. Swallow the pain. But inside, I was in disbelief, shattered. Elizabeth was my younger sister, 15 years younger than me to be exact. I had always been like a second mother to her after our parents died in a car accident when she was only 12. I raised that girl with all the love I had, shared my bread, my clothes, my roof. When I married Joseph, she came to live with us because she had no one else. I helped pay for her education, was by her side through every moment and every difficulty. She never married, said she hadn't found the right man. She lived in our house, ate at our table, shared our joys and sorrows, and now she was sharing my husband. That night, I pretended everything was fine. I served dinner as always, smiled when Joseph complimented the food, said goodnight to Elizabeth when she went upstairs to her room on the second floor of our house. My granddaughter was staying at my house that week. I put her to bed, sang the little song she liked, kissed her forehead without showing my sadness. Children sense when something is wrong, and I didn't want to scare her. She had told me that with the innocence of someone who doesn't understand the weight of words, of someone who simply reports what they saw. After everyone was asleep, I sat on the porch and stared at the starry sky, trying to understand how I had gotten there. 41 years beside a man, 41 years building a life, raising 3 children, overcoming difficulties, and suddenly, everything felt like a lie. In the following days, I began to observe, not obviously, but with the attention of someone looking to confirm a suspicion that tears you apart inside. I noticed the looks they exchanged when they thought I wasn't watching, the way Elizabeth fixed her hair when Joseph came home from work, how he found excuses to stay home when I needed to go out. Small details that had previously gone unnoticed now screamed in my face. How could I have been so blind for so long? Or perhaps I knew deep down, but chose to ignore it because it was easier to live in the illusion than to face the truth. I decided I needed to be certain before doing any. I wasn't going to confront them based solely on a child's words, even though my heart already knew the answer. One Saturday afternoon, I made up that I was going to visit my friend Lucy, who lived on the other side of town. I left the house with my purse, got in the car, and drove to a corner. I parked there and waited. 15 minutes later, I returned on foot, quietly, and entered through the back door. The house was silent. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step seeming like an eternity. The hallway had never seemed so long. When I got close to our bedroom, the bedroom I had shared with Joseph for decades, I heard it. I heard sounds that left no doubt. I didn't need to open the door. I didn't need to see. That was enough. I went down the stairs with the same caution I had climbed them and left the house. I drove with no particular destination, tears finally streaming down my face. I stopped at a grove where I used to take my children when they were small. I sat on a bench and let the pain come. I cried for everything I had lost, for the trust destroyed, for the shattered family. I cried for the woman I was and for the woman I would never be again. How long I stayed there, I can't say. Hours. When I returned home, it was already night. Joseph was in the living room watching television, as if nothing had happened. Elizabeth was in the kitchen preparing dinner, in my place. I greeted them both normally and went upstairs to take a shower. For weeks, I lived in this charade. I woke up, made coffee, took care of the house, smiled when necessary, but inside I was dead. I thought about confronting them 1,000 times a day, but something held me back. Maybe it was fear of losing everything, of admitting failure, of being alone at my age, or maybe it was just exhaustion. Exhaustion from fighting, from suffering, from trying. My children were already adults and had their own lives. My oldest son lived in another state. My middle daughter was always busy with work, and my youngest had just gotten married. They came to visit, of course, but they didn't notice anything. Or they pretended not to notice. I don't know. I started having insomnia. I spent nights awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to Joseph snore beside me. I thought about what it would be like to tell people, the neighbors who saw us as the perfect couple, the friends from church who always praised our marriage, my other grandchildren who loved their grandfather. How to explain that it was all a lie, that the man everyone admired was cheating on me with my own sister, inside my own house? The shame hurt almost as much as the betrayal. I lost pounds during those weeks. My clothes became loose. People started asking if I was okay. I said yes, that it was just a cold that wouldn't go away. Until one Sunday morning, I discovered more things. I was doing a deep cleaning of the house and went to organize my sister's closet. While dusting, I accidentally knocked down a small notebook that fell open. It was a diary, and as I flipped through the pages, I started reading and could hardly believe what my eyes were seeing. They were Elizabeth's confessions, but not recent ones. The dates were from more than 20 years ago. Besides the diary pages, there were letters from Elizabeth declaring her love for my husband. This wasn't something recent. This had lasted decades. I went downstairs with the letters in my hands. Joseph was reading the newspaper in the living room. Elizabeth was watering the plants on the porch. I called her and threw the letters on the coffee table, right in front of them. Joseph panicked when he recognized those papers. Elizabeth came into the living room and stopped at the doorway when she saw the scene. Joseph lowered his head. Elizabeth started crying. And in their silent denial, my entire life was destroyed. They told me everything, how the affair had started years before, when Elizabeth came to live with us. 21 years living a lie. Elizabeth said she had been weak, that she regretted it every day, but couldn't end that relationship. But no regret would bring back the stolen years. No excuse would justify the charade we lived. I threw them both out of the house that same day. I didn't want to hear pleas. I didn't want to hear justifications. I wanted distance. I wanted to never see those faces that had deceived me for decades again. The hardest part was telling my children. They were completely shaken, torn between supporting their mother and distancing themselves from their father. The family I had built over decades shattered in a matter of days. Today, years later, I still haven't recovered emotionally. The pain of betrayal never goes away completely. I carry with me the memory of a united family that once belonged to me, and still I continue here, breathing, living, because that's what we do. We move forward. Even when nothing makes sense anymore,